Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to see you here. This is my seed cycling and cycle syncing workshop, and I just wanted you to see my face before we get started. I am Angel, and I'm passionate about women's hormones, and I'm so excited to teach you today about seed cycling and cycle syncing. I feel like it is a very important thing we can add to our diets and our lifestyles and really make a difference without having to take medicines and do all kinds of crazy things. So I am going to share my screen here and we are going to get started. So, all righty. So this is about seed cycling and cycle syncing. And I just need to let you know that I'm not a medical doctor nor a psychiatrist, and the views of this workshop are my own. I do not want you to make any changes to your medications or supplements without speaking to your healthcare provider, and this has not been evaluated by the FDA. So, who am I? Well, I am Angel Hill, and I have more than a dozen years in alternative health. I have served about 7,000 clients through my time, and I'm actually leaving my clinic in person and going online so I can help more people all across the country. You can find all my certificates. I'm a naturopath on LinkedIn. And so, let's get going. If you have any questions about what I do or anything, you can certainly let me know. But seed cycling has long been used to support women's hormones. And what it does is supplies nutrients they need at specific times of their cycle. And I like seed cycling for hormone balance because it's an effective and gentle way to support women's hormones. And through food, food is always the best way to go with any of these sorts of things. So there are four phases of our cycle, and that's kind of what we need to know first before we get into anything else. So there is the menstrual phase, which is days 1 to 5. Now these are these are how they should be. Does that make sense? So if you don't fall directly into these, it's okay. But during that menstrual phase, you're shedding your uterine lining. And then the follicular phase, that's about days 16 to 14. You're prepping for the pregnancy. Ovulation phase is only about 3 days. That's the 15th through the 17th. And it's likely when you're likely to become pregnant. And then the luteal phase is that 18 to 28 when you're potentially pregnant. It's also a time people know as the PMS time frame as well. So, what we do with cycle syncing is, excuse me, seed cycling is we provide seeds at certain times of your cycle to help support different hormones. So, this day 1 to 14, you want to do 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seeds a day and 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds a day. So, what that's going to do is that's going to support your estrogen during that menstrual and follicular phase. Now, you can put these in protein shakes, yogurt, salads. I also have some recipes coming up here in just a second that we're going to put them in. So you can see there's all kinds of different ways that you can do this. The point is to get these seeds in, and it becomes kind of a habit after a while. You don't even think about it. I do want to recommend or comment that the flax seeds need to be ground. So if we swallow whole flax seeds, our body literally puts them out the same way they came in. But if you do the ground flax seeds, our body knows what to do with those. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. You want to do ground flax seeds. So here's a really great recipe. This is for gingerbread coconut clusters. These are tasty and they have the pumpkin seeds right in there. So just gives you an idea of different things you can do. Here is make sure to grab this and take pictures of it so you can get this recipe going, and it's pretty quick too. Here's another one. This one uses the ground flaxseed cinnamon protein energy bites. This is one of my favorite things. I have these all the time at work. So just a really great way to get some flaxseed. This one also has some chia seeds in it as well. So, and now the second half of your cycle, that days 15 to 28, you want to look at doing a tablespoon of sesame seeds and a tablespoon of sunflower seeds. That is going to support our progesterone during that ovulatory and luteal phase. Now, again, you can put these in the protein shakes, but I'm gonna have a couple more recipes for you for that. When you're thinking about seed cycling, typically it takes about 2 cycles to really notice a difference. So what my clients say is they'll start it with their first cycle. They go through all the way through that first cycle. And then when the second menstrual phase comes through, that's when they really start noticing a difference. So it's not gonna be the very first time you use it. It does take a little bit to get through. These are phenomenal, these air fryer salmon bites. If you don't have an air fryer, it's the best thing I ever did. But real simple and easy, and you can throw those sesame seeds on it. Tells you how to do it here. And again, all of these recipes are really quick. I am someone who believes in doing things quickly, but also less processed as possible. And this kale and tuna salad, this is a great lunch. It could even be a dinner for somebody. This has those sunflower seeds in it. So there's all different ways you can get these seeds into your diet to really make sure to support that estrogen and progesterone through the whole time of your cycle. So now we're going to talk about cycle syncing, which kind of comes into the whole seed cycling as well. They really work together well. And this is where you look at your menstrual cycle and you optimize different activities, exercise, nutrition to the different phases of your cycle. Along with it, so if you think about it, we've already talked about the nutrition because you can be doing these seeds during this time, but we're actually going to talk about other foods that you can do for cycle syncing as well. And people report hormonal balance, increased energy, reduced symptoms, just overall health when they can cycle up or sync up their cycle. So let's again talk about this. The first phase of our cycle, as we talked about, is that days 1 through 5. So that's when we have our actual period. Our energy tends to be low during this period because this is a shedding period. We're shedding our lining, we're detoxing. So our energy is going to be a little low. So we're going to need to eat things like red meat because it's got that good iron in it, fatty fish because it's got those omega-3s that are going to help us, shellfish, beets, mushrooms, greens, seaweed. All those good foods are going to help us get through this low energy period. And we really want to think about reducing caffeine, alcohol, greasy, and processed foods during this time frame. Not every phase requires you to reduce things, but during this phase, you're really going to notice a difference if you can. On the caffeine, I like to keep coffee at 2 cups or less. So that's true cups. So about 16 ounces or less on the coffee. But if you're doing other types of caffeine, you just got to really be careful about that. You also want to be doing very calming exercises during this. Your movement should be low intensity, walking, yoga, things like that. Just because you're detoxing, you want to get all of that out of your body. Now, when we get to the follicular phase, this is when we're kicking butt, y'all. We have high energy. It's a productivity phase. We're getting everything done during this phase. So you could actually schedule certain things in your life when you know you got to get done during this phase because your body is really going to support that. You're going to be eating lighter though because you want to be light on your feet. Digestion takes a ton of energy. And so if you're not eating as much, you can use that energy, that high energy got to do other things in your life. So light meals, maybe fast. Some people like to intermittent fast. That is just up to you. I don't recommend all my clients intermittent fast. So if you have any questions about that, you can always get in touch with me. Raw fruits and veggies, lead protein, fermented foods like kombucha is a good one, or sauerkraut, another one of my favorites. Now, the movement is going to be high intensity during this follicular phase. You're going to be doing jogging, hiking, heavy strength training. You really want to get that in during this phase because you've got so much energy. You want to take care of that. And then we go to the ovulatory phase, days 15 through 17. This is when you could get pregnant. They also call it the magnetic phase because anything you want seems to come through you during this time frame. And it's only 3 days, so take advantage of that. If you want it, they say good time to ask for a job promotion is during this time frame. But your energy is going to be highest. You're going to be feeling most outgoing and confident during this time. You want to focus on the rainbow. We want colorful fruits and veggies, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, nuts, avocados. Those avocados give us amazing omega-3 fats, which are so good for us. But I wanted to point out that the broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and kale, those all help pull bad estrogens out of our liver. And so it's a good liver detox during this time frame too. Just get all those bad things out and get the good things in, like those avocados. Our movement's still going to stay high intensity during this time frame, maybe running, cycling, sprinting. You're going to have a lot more stamina these 3 days too. So it's really great time frame. And then we're going to look at the luteal phase. Sometimes this is known as PMS as well. You're definitely going to have a lower energy there in this time frame. You're going to have more cravings too. So that means you really need to have regularly balanced meals. And when I say balance, you want healthy fat and protein in them. Okay. You really want to make sure that that protein and fat are in there to keep you from wanting to eat more. There's something called the protein hypothesis, protein leverage hypothesis, actually, which means that our body actually craves sugar when it really wants protein. So if you're craving sugar, just try to get some good protein in there. A great way I love to do this is through an avocado. Avocados have protein and fat in them, so that really helps satiate you through the day. You also want some really good carbs during this time frame, but we're talking complex carbs. So like a sweet potato, something like that. You don't want those quick carbs to get through you because that again just turns into sugar. And this is another time frame you want to kind of focus on reducing things. So you want to reduce that added sugar, those greasy foods, alcohol, and dairy again. Dairy, we are the only animals that drink another animal's milk. So dairy isn't something we're really meant to take in. So just think about that. with that dairy and just be really careful about it. It's very mucus forming. So a lot of times people will get actually, besides stomach aches, they'll get sinus infections and things like that. So be real careful with the dairy. Movement during this time frame. So moderate intensity. It's not like it was in the beginning where you're not moving at all, but you want to do things like Pilates, yoga, light cardio, or light strength training. So you're not going full at it, but you're definitely wanting to go a little bit less here. And this is because it's a nurture and rest phase. You're trying to just get your body ready to start that period that's going to be coming soon. Now, we've talked about the sex hormones, which is the top of my hormone heaven framework. But in order to get the sex hormones balanced, some of the things we have to do are actually below those sex hormones. So, like seed cycling is phenomenal for balancing the sex hormones. But if your minerals and cortisol aren't correct, as you can see from this framework, then the sex hormones can't be balanced. So, basically, when you're looking at this framework, the bottom step has to be balanced before the next step, and that step has to be balanced for the next step. So the cortisol has to be balanced for insulin. So we're going to talk about that just for a second. So the minerals actually support our whole body, and they're like the spark plug for our hormones. So if our minerals aren't balanced, we're not balanced. And unfortunately, we're not getting minerals from our food anymore. Our minerals have completely been depleted from the soil. The World Health Organization has actually declared emergency situations over this. So we're getting our vitamins, fortunately, for our food, but just not those minerals. So I recommend everybody do something like an electrolyte first thing in the morning. That's going to get you your 4 foundational minerals of potassium, sodium, calcium, and magnesium. And when you can get those 4 foundational minerals, that helps with everything. It really helps get things moving. Now, another way to know what you exactly need with minerals is by doing a hair tissue mineral analysis. That is something I can help you with. If you're interested, please get in touch with me. It's actually included in my Hormone Heaven program. But what hair tissue mineral analysis does is not only see what kind of minerals you have going on in your body for the last 3 months, but also any heavy metals that could be hanging out. And heavy metals can actually replace hormones in our receptors and cause a lot of hormone issues. So we definitely need to get rid of those heavy metals and balance out those minerals. And when we do that, we notice healthier brain function, we improve exercise performance, blood pressure gets better, mood gets better, stronger immune systems. And number one for me, because I work with hormones so much, is it encourages healthy hormones. So I highly recommend for that first or second, actually, we'll talk about the first drink, but if your second drink of the day, make sure to get electrolytes in some way. I put a picture here of Ultima electrolytes in my program. I have a list of electrolytes that I really like. I look for non-sugar electrolytes and some without any colored added. So I have a list. If you'd like that, you to me. And in my group, it seems to be that Ultima seems the most popular one. So I just wanted to let people know that. So adrenals, that's the cortisol. That's actually the first hormone on the hormone hierarchy. Cortisol has to be balanced before anything else can be. And cortisol comes from our adrenals. So a lot of people know when their adrenals are out of whack is when they wake up in the morning and they are still tired or they can't sleep all night. That's cortisol issues. Your cortisol is either flipped or it's too high or it's too low. And so these adrenal cocktails, first thing in the morning, help our adrenals get where they need to go. And they do that by providing sodium. Our adrenals need more sodium than any other organ of the body. And it needs it first thing in the morning because our adrenals should be pushing out that cortisol first thing in the morning. It's basically kind of, if you think about it, cortisol is high in the morning and low at night. So that's why it needs that cortisol first thing in the morning. That sodium helps it. So what you do is you just get about 8 ounces of water, add a half a lemon, and a quarter teaspoon of salt. Sometimes people like to start with an eighth of a teaspoon of salt. So just keep that in mind. And you just drink it up. It's not a lot, but it gets those adrenals going first thing in the morning. Now, sea salt also helps reduce cortisol and adrenaline by preventing dehydration, but you want to opt for a high quality sea salt to make sure you get the minerals. I prefer Redmond's Real Salt. It comes from America. I like that a lot because it's easy to get and it's got all the minerals in it. You could also use Celtic salt or Himalayan salt. They come from overseas, so I don't like those as much. They're harder to get, but they still have good minerals in them. So if that's something you're looking for, we can definitely do that. Now, back to the insulin, which is cortisol's first. We got to get that balance. We do that with the adrenals. And then insulin, we have to have balance so that our hormones can work effectively. If we're having spikes all day long, it affects our brain and our hormones. So the way we can get that blood sugar balance is by doing 15 to 30 grams of protein first meal of the day. And actually, if you can do that every meal of the day, that's really going to make a difference for you. Protein levels out our sugar for the day. So even if you're doing sugar, it's still going to help it not be quite as much of a bump. You also want to avoid liquid sugars, things like sweet tea, soda, ice cream, sports drinks. They just literally start causing havoc as soon as they get in our body. So just really make sure with those liquid sugars that you're reducing those as much as possible, as not, if not avoiding them. And also, great way to save money. You're not buying sodas, right? um, so this is what happens to our blood sugar whenever we do not eat protein. So we get these spikes all day long, which cause all kinds of problems. They cause problems to our mood, our hormones, everything. So just really be mindful of making sure to get that protein while you're doing your seed cycling and cycle syncing, because it really makes a difference. Now, a quick note about coffee. We mentioned that earlier. Coffee can be a liquid sugar, obviously, if you put sugar into it. But drinking coffee alone without any food actually makes your insulin spike as well. So if you're going to drink coffee, that's not a problem. We talked about earlier how much, but just make sure to do it with food or a fat and protein, maybe avocado. And I love avocados, as you can tell, avocado and coffee, something to help keep that insulin spike down. Now, when we're talking about the thyroid, it's actually the number one reason people can't get pregnant. There's so many reasons with the thyroid and the sex hormones work together. So I believe in getting that thyroid checked out. Now, this is whether you're a man or a woman. I think that the thyroid, we should have some baseline testing. And there's a difference between conventional testing versus functional testing. And that goes for a lot of different tests. But in this particular example, I am talking about the thyroid because it is what we have to get fixed before we go into the hormones. So conventional testing for thyroid is very disease oriented. What disease do you have? Do you have a disease? Do you not have disease? If you have the disease, we're going to manage that disease. We're going to give you something like Synthroid that tells your thyroid to quit working and it takes over. Everyone is treated the same way in that conventional. They look at as few markers as possible for insurance reasons or cost reasons. And your numbers look great. Nothing's wrong with your thyroid. I cannot tell you how many people have said that to me. Your numbers are fine. There's nothing wrong with your thyroid, but they're obviously having thyroid symptoms. So, right, there's something not there. So, what's going on usually is something called subclinical hypothyroidism. And basically, what it means is it's not showing up in the conventional blood work, but there's definitely something going on. So, when I look at your blood work for the thyroid and all the blood work, actually, I'm looking at it through a functional lens. How can we make your health the best it can be? Optimal, right? How can we prevent or reverse disease? How can I come up with a personalized plan for you that finds the root causes and get this fixed? So when it comes to thyroid, doctors typically test like one or two components, where I like to test at least seven. That really gives us, and two of those components, there's five thyroid components, and then two of the components are hypothyroid. I'm sorry. Autoimmune thyroid issues. And the reason that I like to check for those is they're apparently about 80%, the statistics show about 80% of people who have thyroid issues actually have hypothyroid or autoimmune thyroid, and their doctors don't even know it. They haven't tested it out. So if you're going to look on that thyroid, I highly recommend you find a functional doctor, somebody who can really do this for you. If you have good insurance, I can give you a list of what they need to check. But then after that, you do need to have a doctor, a functional doctor, actually look at the reference ranges rather than your conventional doctor to give you a much better example of what's going on. And I'm not knocking conventional doctors. They have a lot going on. They have a lot to do. In my program, I look at everybody's blood work, whether it's for hormones or not. And one of the things I'm finding is a lot of kidney issues lately that doctors aren't letting their clients know about. And unfortunately, what's happening, there was an article that just came out in the news recently from Medscape that people are finding out that they're going into dialysis the same day they find out they have kidney disease. Well, I don't want that for people. I want people to know that they're heading towards some sort of disease. So that's why I'm really in my program, I make sure to look at all the factors that's going on so that we can help people get healthier. But in the case of hormones, we're looking at that thyroid because it has to be balanced before your thyroid can, I mean, before your hormones, your sex hormones can be. So we want to get that adrenal focused, that insulin balance, the thyroid's taken care of, and then the sex hormones, which you can do things like seed cycling with. So my program includes private coaching calls. It actually includes the hair tissue mineral analysis that figures out what minerals you have in your body. and what heavy metals you have going on. I personalize it to you. You have 24/7 texting availability with me, and you also get discounts on other functional testing that you may be interested in. I do offer discounts on supplements, but I actually in my program try to lose the least amount of supplements possible. Sometimes we have to do supplements because we just really don't have things in our body. I mean, our food, whatever. But I tend to do it through lifestyle and food. Really get you where you need to go. So please find me on Facebook and Instagram. I do a lot of great tips on there. I'm at Alt Health Angel. On LinkedIn, you can find me at Angel Hill DNM. DNM stands for Doctor of Natural Medicine. And I just need to remind you again that these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. But I hope that you come and see me on the socials and see all the great information I'm putting out. And if you need help with anything, you need a coach to help you skyrocket your success, I hope you consider me. Thanks for listening, everybody.